So, how good is Geno Smith exactly?
I'll give you a hint. He's not that good. Hey everybody, how's it going? Mike Barra here, Seahawk Boy Mike B, back with another edition of Seahawk Boys TV. Welcome to the show out of Las Vegas, Nevada, of course, where it's nice, cool 80 degrees today. It felt great. Absolutely fantastic weather. Thanks for being here. I appreciate each and every one of you. Well, I've been catching a lot of flack this week because I'm not that impressed with Geno Smith's performance on Sunday. Everybody else seems to be over the moon about it. Even Rob Staten, the voice of reason, the guy you would expect to be saying some of the things that I'm going to say on this stream, was just over the moon about it. Oh, Geno was fantastic. He did everything. He made all these great throws, and he saved the game for the Seahawks. Well, he did to a certain extent. He executed a couple of good field goal drives, and a blocked field goal on the other end by our special teams. Julian Love, who's worth every penny they spent on him, saved that game for the Seahawks. Sort of reversed Mike McDonald's mistake of not kicking the field goal on the first drive of the second half. When you're on the road, Mike, take the points, especially when it's a 25, 30-yarder. You know, even Jason Myers can make that most of the time. So it was an interesting game, and Geno played very well. I'm not going to say Geno did not play well, but I kind of probably made a mistake on Twitter X when I said he was pedestrian. That's not really fair. Geno was not pedestrian, but he was above average. He was good. Was he great? No. Was he elite? Oh, fuck no, he wasn't elite. That's crazy talk. And again, we're going to go over some issues, why some of the things that happened, and it just, I do not get. Well, I mean, I do get the Geno bros, guys like Seahawks retard Nelson, who, I expect dumb things to come out of his mouth because they always do. And then, on top of that, then we slide down to Corbin K. Smith. Look at this ridiculous post from yesterday. Corbin Smith, moving out of his predecessor's shadow. See, this is how much a lot of the Geno bros in Seahawks Twitter hate Russell Wilson. They won't even say his name. That's how much they hate. He may as well be Donald Trump to a Democrat. It's like putting a cross in front of a vampire to the Geno bros to talk about how great Russell Wilson was, the greatest quarterback this team has ever had and probably ever will have. I don't care if they play 200 more seasons. They're probably not going to get a better quarterback than Russell Wilson. But moving out of his predecessor's shadow, Geno Smith heroics in the clutch continue to create his own legend under center for the Seahawks. Looking at number 7's growing legacy after yet another game-winning drive on Sunday. I seriously, I see this stuff, and I think you're mentally retarded. You're like Seahawks retard Nelson, and again, even guys who normally are a little calmer, like Jeff Simmons and Rob, we're just on and on and on and on about how Geno played. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to run Geno in the background, and we're going to show you his throws, and hopefully I do not get a copyright strike for playing YouTube's videos on YouTube. We're going to hope for that, but I'm going to play this video and you watch the stuff. So there's a lot of narratives coming out of this game, and I just don't agree with most of them. Oh, Geno was under a lot of pressure. Well, no, he wasn't under a lot of pressure. Look at some of these throws here. I don't see much in the way of pressure on any of them. He's got plenty of time. He's got open receivers. You have to give a ton of credit to Tyler Lockett, especially Jackson Smith-Njigba and DK Metcalf for doing their jobs, getting open, and picking up a lot of yards on run after the catch. So was this a fantastic performance by Geno? Well, the stats say so, but the stats mostly are focused on yards. He had like 325, 327 yards passing. And as you can see, he was extremely efficient. But this is the kind of play that you get not out of an elite quarterback, but out of a good quarterback, a game manager, a guy who doesn't throw the game away. Now, Having said that, Geno, if you look at it, he did not make any bad throws. He did not make any bad throws the other day. There's the wide open touchdown to DK Metcalf, but he also didn't do very much of that. Geno only has 2 touchdown passes this year, both of which were to guys who were wide open because of broken coverages, literally passes that any quarterback in the NFL could have thrown. I'm not going to say I could have thrown them because I couldn't throw the ball that far. But pretty much every quarterback who's in the NFL right now could have made that throw to DK Metcalf. It was wide open. So again, as you study this, Geno drops back. He throws short. It looks like, Chenault makes a few yards out of it. So he consistently is taking what's there. Now, this is really interesting to me because all of you guys that are out there ripping on me saying, I don't know what I'm talking about. Well, what did I tell you was going to happen in this game? I told you that after week 1, the Patriots were going to stack the wall against the run and force Geno Smith, Jackson Smith-Njigba, and Tyler Lockett to beat them. They're going to double up on DK. They're going to put their best guy on him, and they're going to stack the runs. See, there wasn't pressure there. I mean, they were getting to him a little bit, but he had time to look downfield, find the guy, and throw a strike. And Geno has a good arm. We know that. And he was very well. That's not heavy pressure. Geno had time to get that throw off. That was one of the better throws of the day. So I went back and I looked at it, and I didn't see. I saw 3, maybe 4 great to really good throws. They were not exceptional throws, but they were good throws. They were really good throws. Most of them, however, were, to use a word, pedestrian. They were checkdowns. They were dump-offs to guys that were already in motion. And this is a credit to Ryan Grubb's offense. He's finding ways to get the ball to guys where they can make more yards. And the Seahawks receivers did that. Now, again, I am kind of tired, more than kind of tired, really tired of the of the excuse that let's see if we can run this way. I'm tired of the narrative that that there was no blocking in this game, that there was some sort of issue with let's go back to every Geno Smith throw. That there was bad blocking in this game. They're just you really can't say that because you don't know. If you look at this game, here, let me share the other tab instead. Share this one instead. Here, we'll go to window. There we go. We'll share that. So if you look at this game, there was no running game because they were stacked against the run. They weren't going to let the Seahawks run on them and beat them. And that was a smart move. It's what I told you they were going to do. But Zach Charbonnet, I don't know that he left a lot of yards on the field. I have to go back and look at the all 22, which I don't typically do because I don't have time. I got a million other things to do. But I'm sorry, he's too slow. He's just too slow as a running back. So he was no threat in the running game. So again, it's a credit to the offensive scheme to get guys open. It's a credit to, again, basic throw, right up the middle, wide open guy. If you watch what Geno did, it was all basic stuff pretty much. The problem that I have with the way the Seahawks played offense is that they didn't give anybody else a chance to carry the ball. I'm just going to tell you, the biggest reason why the running game stalled is because of Zach Charbonnet, not because of the blocking. And I don't see how you can say, oh, well, their blocking was terrible. Well, their blocking wasn't terrible in week 1 when Ken Walker ran for 109 yards or whatever it was. The run blocking was great. So if we buy this analysis from the Geno Bros, and from the massive, the homers on Seahawks Twitter, then what they're saying is, oh, okay, well, let's see. The run blocking was great in week 1 against the Broncos, but the pass blocking was terrible. And then in week 2, the pass blocking was great, but the run blocking was terrible. No, I'm sorry. You can't have it that way. The difference was Zach Charbonnet versus Ken Walker. And I understand they want to keep Zach Charbonnet. There's a couple highlights here where he does some good blitz pickups, picks up guys that are stunting once or twice. But you have to give somebody else a chance to run the ball. If Ken Walker misses the game against the Dolphins, carries have to go to McIntosh and Helani. Why? Because they're probably faster than Charbonnet. Because Charbonnet is too slow. He is too effing slow. That's why they didn't get anything on the ground. Now, would they have gotten a lot on the ground? No, but they might have gotten 75 yards. They might have broken a run here and there, but Charbonnet's not going to break runs. Oh, well, you can't say that, says Rob, because Zach Charbonnet is a power back. Well, Marshawn Lynch was a power back too, but he was also fast. He was quick on his feet. Charbonnet is not. So I suspect they were pretty much opening the same holes that were there for Ken Walker against the Broncos, but they just didn't have a running back that could exploit those holes. And that was foolish on the part of Mike McDonald. That was foolish on the part of Mike McDonald. Now, again, I wanted that whole thing to run. Okay, it's now run. Its course before I went to the next thing. So that's one thing to analyze the running game. But this is what the Seahawks are going to face. Next week, here's what they're going to do. Here's what the Dolphins are going to do defensively. They're going to stack the box, and they're going to try to keep us from running. If Charbonnet's in the game, they're not going to worry about the running game too much. They're going to be able to double DK. They're going to double DK, and they're going to try to stop the run. And they're going to say, okay, Geno Smith, can you and Jackson Smith-Njigba and Noah Fant, who is terrible, by the way, and Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith-Njigba, can those guys beat us? And here's the other thing is we don't know how good the Patriots secondary is. At the end of the season, they could end up being one of the bottom secondaries. We don't know. What I know is that there were guys open all day, and Geno did the smart thing, which he deserves a lot of credit for. He took what the defense gave him. He stepped back. He had a pretty good idea where the open guy was going to be against a given front or set that he was facing, and he hit him. He got rid of the ball quickly. He didn't let them get to him. He didn't throw deep. He had one deep ball. So, Geno took what they gave him, but is that elite? And the answer is no, it's not elite. So let's go take a look at Geno's passing chart from last week, because I think this is absolutely relevant. If you look at Geno's passing chart, and here, let's change this configuration around a little bit. So we're more like that or more like that. There we go. Maybe I'll put myself down in the corner. Okay. So if you look at Geno's passing chart, this is it from last week. Now everybody's talking about, a quarterback who throws over the middle. Oh yeah, he threw a few balls over the middle. Handful, 5 or 6. These are so short, I don't even really count them. He only threw he only had one completion more than 20 yards. That was the wide open coverage breakdown to DK Metcalf. All the other throws were under 20 yards. Okay, that's not an elite performance. Elite quarterbacks, they throw for 325. What was he? 33 or 44, 327 yards. They throw for 327 yards? Yes, they do. They also throw for more than one touchdown, and they throw the ball deep. When you got 33 completions, you ought to have probably more than 327 yards. A lot of it also, if you watch the tape, you watch the highlights, go watch that video, just every Geno Smith show throw from week 2. It's a great video to watch. Shows you a lot. About 90% of the throws were under 10 yards. Most of them were to the sides, little dump offs in the middle, hooks, slants. How many were there over 10 yards? There was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. About 12 of his 44 throws were over 10 yards. Everything else was short. Now, was he accurate? Yes. Did he make any bad throws? No, I don't remember him making a bad throw. He played a very good game, but this is not an elite performance. And doing this does not make you elite. He had a very efficient passer rating. What was it? 107. But his team only got, his 2 big drives at the end, his team only got field goals out of them. He's only thrown 2 touchdown passes, and they were both throws anybody could make. So how can you have a discussion on him being elite? I don't care. It's only week 2. Let's look at week 10. Seahawks have started off 2-0. We should all be happy about that. I am, but it shouldn't blind us to the issues that we may have coming up when we start playing better teams. I expected the Seahawks to start 3-0. That was my prediction. I think they'll be 4-1 after 5 games. I can't see them losing to the Dolphins without Tua or the Giants. Geno is a classic game manager. You know who else could have had that exact game? Kirk Cousins. Baker Mayfield would have had a better game than that, probably. Guys that are called game managers, and they're not. Baker is more than a game manager, and he's a better player than Geno. Guys who are called game managers could have had exactly that day. When you see a chart like this, that's literally screams game manager. 90% of the throws under 10 yards, about 98% of the completions under 20 yards. That's game management. That's Rich Gannon, whose MVP is the most ridiculous MVP ever given. That's not elite. And what gets me about this is why are this Geno bros and Seahawks Twitter so anxious to make Geno elite when he's not? One, it's the bias against Russell Wilson. They want to erase Russell Wilson. Why? Probably because he's a Christian. And there's a lot of liberals in Seattle who hate Christians and Christianity. The hatred thrown at Russell Wilson translates to Geno good, Russell bad. I mean, again, look at fucking Corbin Smith. His predecessor? Oh, you mean the greatest Seahawk ever? The greatest quarterback we've ever had? Probably the greatest single Seahawk ever. A surefire Hall of Famer. As long as it's not just the East Coast sports writers voting it. If anybody had any fucking brains, he'd be a Hall of Famer the first year he was up. Guy who won us our only Super Bowl. Oh, yeah, his predecessor. Because it's all about Geno. Remember when that creep Michael Bennett said Russell Wilson wasn't black enough? I literally look at Seahawks Twitter and it feels like that's what I'm hearing. Russell Wilson's not great because he's not black enough. Talks like a white guy. Acts like a white guy. Has Christian values. So that's the only thing I can think of. I cannot otherwise understand how you can inflate a performance like this into Geno is elite and let's pay him $50 million a year like Seahawks retard Nelson wants to do. As opposed to what he really is. There's got to be some other issue here. And you know, again, I get accused of racism all the time because I say Geno's not that good. Oh, yeah, well, nobody ever asked me the second question. Well, who do you think is good? Russell Wilson? But he doesn't count because he's not black enough. So I must be a racist. It's this sort of insanity that permeates Seahawks Twitter. It's literal insanity. Russell Wilson can do things with his arm, with his legs, with his brain, with his heart that Geno Smith will never do. And he gave us that for 10 or 12 straight years. Played his heart out for this team. And you should respect him a lot more than that. Now, in terms of respect, the receivers deserve a lot of respect. But let's face facts about what Geno is. Geno is the best of the guys who aren't good enough to win a Super Bowl. Geno is the best of the guys who aren't good enough. And as that player, he played a great game on Sunday. He made no mistakes, but he wasn't under very much pressure. He had a lot of open guys to throw to, and to his credit, he saw them and he hit them for short yardage passes that his receivers turned into some extra yards. But remember, yards don't mean shit in real life. They mean something in fantasy football, but they don't mean anything in terms of winning football games. Yards are a fantasy stat. How many yards do you have on Sunday? 327. Wow. The Seahawks must have scored a bunch of points. Well, they scored 20 in regulation and 23 in overtime. They've scored 49 points so far this year in overtime. That's less than 25 points a game. That's pretty good. It's not good enough to consistently win in the NFL. The great quarterbacks, the elite quarterbacks, Josh Allen, Mahomes, CJ Stroud, who they should have traded up for to the number 1 pick in 2023 and should be our quarterback right now. Those guys are going to put up 30, 40. By the time the season is over, they're going to have 3 and 4 and 5 touchdown games. That's what I'm waiting to see from Geno. Now, if Geno plays against a good team like the 49ers and they're healthy and he throws for 427 yards and 4 touchdowns and no interceptions and no fumbles and doesn't take a sack, yeah, I'm going to say that was an elite game. And he may be on the road to being an elite quarterback. But I don't think so at 34 years old. The last 2022 was peak Geno. I don't think he's going to be better than that this year, even with more weapons and a better offensive line. We'll see. I'm not here to trash Geno. I'm here to question Seahawk Twitter's rationality. That passing chart is not an elite passing chart. It's a good basic game manager passing chart. So what does that mean for the future? I don't know. I'm looking forward to the next few games. I'm excited we're 2-0. I think we're going to be 3-0, and I think we're going to be 4-1. But am I really excited about this team? No. They got run on last week. The defensive line got run on. Byron Murphy flashed a couple of plays. Finally got something out of him. Our first-round pick. But guys, I think, maybe it's not my job. It's really not my job to calm everybody down. It's not my job to say to everybody, oh, wow, well, is this good enough? People will say that. But it's what I think. And I am not going to get excited about this team being a serious contender. When I say contender, I don't mean a contender to win the division. I put $100 on them to win the division. Up at the casino up the street here. That's not a contender. Winning a playoff game, that doesn't make you a contender. Getting to the NFC Championship game, that makes you a contender. Getting to the Super Bowl, that makes you a contender. Winning a Super Bowl, that makes you a contender. This team's not good enough to win a Super Bowl. Not with this quarterback. And that's no knock on Geno and who he is. It's just the reality. That's the hill that Seahawk boy Mike is going to die on. So I think I've made my point. I would love to have a discussion with some people who think that performance was elite and go back through every throw and show you just how above average it was. It was very good. Be interesting to see what happens this week. I don't know how the Dolphins are going to defend the Seahawks. I don't see how the Dolphins are going to score enough points to beat us. I think it's I predicted last week was going to be 20-16. It pretty much happened that way. I think the same thing, 23-14, 23-16, something like that. Dolphins have Tyreek Hill. We have a really good secondary. We have a decent pass rush. We don't know much about this new Dolphins quarterback. So I do expect another Seahawks W. All right. That's pretty much it. Those are my thoughts. If you have comments, if you just want to hate on me, you go right ahead, but it doesn't make me wrong. You can hate on me all you want. As an aerospace engineer and a UFO researcher, I've gotten into arguments with people about nonsense like global warming. Okay. And they've said, well, you don't believe this scientist. You don't believe that scientist. It's like, no, I don't believe other people. Because you know why? Because I can read a fucking temperature graph. Same thing applies here. I disagree with Mina Kimes. I disagree with the Geno bros. I think Geno had a good game. I think he's going to have more games like this. But if he's really going to be great, he needs to throw more touchdown passes. It's that simple. And he needs to throw the ball more effectively deep. He may do that. He has impressed us with his throws sometimes in the last 2 years. So no, I'm not that excited about Geno Smith, and I'm not going to jump on the bandwagon and say he's elite. You know why? Because I can read a fucking passing chart. All right, see you next time. I will be back on the Strictly Football Show with my buddy Brian Engelman from Cleveland. We're going to be going over all the games, and I will see you guys then on Thursday. Thanks for being here. Spew the hate in the comments. Spew the hate on Twitter X. By all means, come at me, bro. Come at me, Geno Bros. I'm ready to talk about it. And I want to be wrong, but I don't think I am. Thanks for being here.